everyone, my name is Darren Coxon. I am the founder of Coxon AI. I help schools and colleges all over the world with their AI implementation, whether it's for planning, for resourcing, for analysing data, for making lessons more interesting. There are so many things that we can do with AI now that are either free or very cheap, and my mission is to bring that knowledge into as many schools as possible. So I'm going to show you a very quick approach to using ChatGPT that can generate resources really fast. So schemes of work, lesson plans, etc., etc. Okay, but how does it work? First of all, how does ChatGPT work? Well, ChatGPT is what we call a large language model, which is a type of generative AI. And essentially, a generative AI is an AI model which is just trained on enormous amounts of data. In this case, it's text data. So it's been trained on novels and plays and poetry and policy documents and legal documents and Reddit posts and Twitter feeds and basically the whole internet. So it's actually learned how language works in context, how words work in relation to other words. And so when you put in the prompt, it makes in some respects, a guess of the likely next word in the sentence based on its training and based on your prompt. It's a lot more complicated than that, but ultimately it is working to predict the next word in the sentence, but it does it in very, very clever ways. So we can use it to work with language in some very, very smart ways. But it's not perfect. So the first thing to say is it's not perfect. It does sometimes get things wrong. It does sometimes hallucinate, which is where it basically makes things up. It's really important that you bring your human judgment in, use it as a brainstorming ideation tool to structure documents, to give you a head start, to bash around ideas. There are loads of ways that you can use it. But what I wouldn't do is necessarily take all of its output and just believe that it's all going to be 100% correct, because it sometimes isn't. It's getting better and better, but sometimes it does get things wrong. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to just move over here to ChatGPT. And I'm going to take you through a short exercise where I am going to show you how you can create a scheme of work, some lesson plans and some resources just in about 5 minutes. So the first prompt I'm going to put in is this. I want you to act as a history teacher, so we're going to give it a role. I want you to act in this way. We're going to plan a scheme of work together. But the first question that you're going to ask it is, what information do you need, ChatGPT, from me in order to plan this scheme of work? This is a really useful first prompt to set you off, because what it will do is it will tell you, well, based on my computer brain, these are the things that will be very helpful. So it's going to show you, there we are, so syllabus, grade level, assessment requirements, learning objectives, so on and so forth. It will sound American. You can make it sound English, and I'll show you how to do that in a moment. But it will sometimes kind of default towards American, like grade level rather than year group. You can specify this is a UK curriculum, GCSE A level, national curriculum, whatever. You can specify, and it will then default to British rather than American. But if you don't specify that, it will automatically default to American. So then what I'm actually going to do is I've copy and pasted just lots and lots of detail from a syllabus. So all I've done, I've taken a GCSE history syllabus and I've not formatted it. I've copied the aims from the syllabus. I've copied the assessment overview. I've copied the assessment objectives. I've said that it's a 10-week course for GCSE and so on and so forth. So I'm giving it the information that it needs, but I've not really done much to it. I've literally just copy-pasted from a GCSE, directly from a GCSE syllabus. And at the end, I've just said, now create the scheme of work in table format. So I'm asking it to output in a format that will be useful for me when I copy and I paste it into another document. So we'll do this quite quickly. Okay, it works quite fast. And it says, here's lesson 1, 2, 3, learning objectives, teaching strategies, so on and so forth. So it's given me a broad overview. Now, what I would suggest that you do is when you're working with AI in this way, start broad and then narrow, 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 narrow. So I'm going to go from the whole 10-week scheme of work to the first week. And I'm asking it to give me the first 3 lessons, 3 one-hour lessons with a bit more detail. So that's what it's going to do. And this is all in real time. It's working this is the speed that it works at. Okay, so it's given me some ideas here, the introduction, something on the revolutions, something on German unification. So just in the first week, giving me an overview of the main elements of the course, which seems quite sensible. Now I'm going to go a little bit more narrow, and I'm going to say, okay, now can you give me the lesson plan for the first lesson showing timing? And that's what it will do. So it's going to give me, minute by minute, and so on and so forth. Now I'm going to say, actually, what would be really helpful is if you can give me the slide content for the PowerPoint presentation for this first lesson. And it's going to do that. Great. So I'm going to say, right, okay, now I'm going to look back up here and I'm going to say, now then, bullet points highlighting key events. Actually, what I want you to do, ChatGPT, is I want you to create me a handout for this particular activity, this particular resource. So I'm just copy pasted from what its output, and I've said, okay, I'm going to take this bit of output and I want you to now expand on it. This is a really good way to use AI. Let it give you the overview and then say, right, this bit expand, this isn't quite right. You're always going to be going backwards and forwards. And so what it's going to do is it's going to go, okay, so it's going to go key events and developments, and it's going to give me bullet points. Great. And then I could possibly say expand on number 1. And then it's going to do that. So you can see here, you're always starting wide, narrow, narrow, narrow. And then you might take one narrow point and then make it more narrow and so on and so forth. You can see this is one of the best ways to work with it. I'm then going to say, actually, I want you to I want to assess this. And I'm actually going to ask you to give me 3 essay titles to assess this first lesson. And it's going to give me 3 essay titles with bullet points, body, conclusion. It even shows the students how to structure the essay. 5-paragraph essay. Okay, it's a little bit bog standard, but that's fine when you're getting into writing essays for the first time. And now I'm actually going to say, great, thank you. But the next thing I want you to do, I want you to show me what the top, middle and bottom paragraph will look like to answer this first essay question. Because we like to be able to model what excellence looks like. And there we go. We can see straight away that looks like pretty good, high quality, and then grade 5, a little bit less, and then grade 2, the Industrial Revolution, where it was a time when things changed a lot. It's exactly the sort of answer that a grade 2 student would give. And now I'm going to say, that's great, but actually now, can you now show me how you would mark each of these 3 paragraphs? Because it's really useful for the student to get inside the examiner's head. So it's going to say, okay, this is how I would examine each of these 3 paragraphs. So we've got the assessment, exemplar, and then we've got how the assessor might assess each of those 3 paragraphs. And then finally, I'm going to say, right, the last thing I want from you in this case is actually, can you write me a syllabus guide? I'm actually going to put here UK spelling, so that it does default to UK spelling. And I'm asking it just to write a course syllabus guide. So it's going to look back at the information that I inputted, and then it's going to write that syllabus guide. Okay, there we go. Course syllabus, what's this course about? I might even say, break the course down in more detail in this guide. So you might say, well, actually, do you know what? You've kind of given me an introduction, but you haven't actually explained what the course is. So now it's going to do that. You see, it's now going to say, there's the course content, 19th century revolutions, Italian unification, so on, so forth. So if you take that approach, start wide, ask it what it wants, number 1. Start wide, go narrow, read what it says, take stuff out, copy, paste, say, give me more of this, give me less of that, change the tone. You'll actually find that you'll get a pretty good scheme of work and lesson resources and assessment resources quite quickly using this approach.